I have codependency issues and I have abandonment issues. Wow, I'm afraid of abandonment and I've become the abandoner.
You know, it was not raining men, it was raining trauma. I couldn't get a job to save my life. I couldn't book.
The way out of it really is self-forgiveness. And when you find it, you can never go back.
How can I make a different choice for next time?
Yes.
How can I manifest a different reality?
Everyone around me thought it was a relapse and it wasn't, so I wasn't being listened to. I was almost hospitalized. The ketamine moment, wow, I just had a spiritual car wash.
The fantasy and the nightmares are very close together.
Eric Kripke, our showrunner, who I love, he's a fucking psychic. Okay, no. I at the time wasn't aware that I was about to have a year that was gonna drag me across concrete. And for the first time in my life, I'm being followed by paparazzi for really negative reasons that I'm afraid are gonna force me to never work again. I don't want to develop a relationship with it that's toxic or in fear. And
you're being the change you wish to see in the world.
I couldn't feel the pain. I just wasn't ready for it.
I've been there.
It's a whole nother level. A whole nother level. A whole nother level. I have realized that I have codependency issues and I have abandonment issues, and it's so crazy. I don't know if anyone will relate to this, but because you are preempting every like move that someone else could observe you take and therefore abandon you for, you're constantly thinking in the future. You're constantly preempting. Like,
you're continuing to live that pattern of being on that tightrope, of being that kid of I have to be perfect. And you're living, you keep
abandon me. Please don't abandon me. And then you abandon yourself and you therefore.
Which is why you left yourself in that room.
Yes, I
and
did,
you had to go get her.
You abandon the person too because you need to be yourself to be with someone.
Yeah, 100%.
That's what I learned is like, wow, I'm afraid of abandonment and I've become the abandoner in a relationship.
So you're like, I'm going to leave you before you leave me.
No, not even that. I didn't have, my fear of abandonment put me in a position to not fully step up to a relationship because I was in the mode of constantly like a lot of decisions were made out of fear and a lot of decisions were made out of like preemptive like calls to prevent abandonment, and then you're not present in a relationship.
You're not present.
You abandon it. You abandon the person, you know?
Yeah.
And so it becomes this weird thing, and then you know, the way out of it really is that self-forgiveness thing, which is hard to find when you operate like us. But then when you find it, you can never go back because you realize that, like, God, it can be so much easier.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. I mean, I had to hit my head against a brick wall many times, though, before I learned a lot of the lessons. A lot.
Yeah. I feel like you and I were both very willful that we have to just keep hitting our head until like, okay, God, I get it. Yeah. I didn't listen for a decade.
Yes. But also you got to go through it. And also I have no regrets because it came from a place of just like immense amount of compassion for whomever I was with. Not the fuck boys. Those are different. Like fuck the fuck boys. But like it just like it came from a place of just earnestly wanting and knowing that I was seeing the best in people. And I feel like
that is an admirable quality, though.
I want to live in a world where that is present because I feel like I've had moments where I'm like, the truth doesn't matter.
We create our own worlds, though. So you can, it's like you're only seeing your version of that world. So what I noticed about New York, for instance, it's like I'll live in a Pleasantville life. It doesn't even make any sense for New York, right? So it's like I'll know
it does to me, but I'm a New Yorker. So many people would be
like,
what?
I'll know my UPS driver on.
You're in
like,
West Village, though. West Village is like literally like heaven.
Like my next door neighbor door guy. I'm like, hey Jamal,
Stop.
and I'm like literally.
I'm gonna go to move to New York tomorrow.
My homeless friend named James Cunningham. Shout out to him. I've been helping him out.
New York is the best.
Yeah, he's so he's like Susie, and I'm like James, and we hug, and it's so sweet.
That's what I'm saying.
I know my neighbors.
We don't have that here.
Yeah.
It's like we have road rage. That's what we have, and that's the thing that I miss about New York. Everyone takes the motherfucking subway. It doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter. It's humanizing. It's equalizing, and that's what I miss.
Yeah,
but
I love. Yeah,
I'm with that, and I'm like I've retained that here, but it's hard to fully retain it. And so Yeah, no, I love New York. I literally was considering moving back there almost a year ago, and
oh my God, move, be my neighbor. That would be amazing.
Trust me, like I am so. I if not moving permanently, I would move 100%. Like in a heartbeat. I just want to go back. I want to be like. I just want to be around culture as well.
Yeah.
I remember when I moved to LA. I'm not a refined person, but like in New York, you go to museums. Here, it's like, oh my God.
I love it here. I mean, I love it there. I love it. I mean, but I do. I lived here for 15 years, and I loved it. It didn't, but New York is like the only place that understood me.
But I've been in Toronto so much. And that's where we shoot The Boys.
Yeah.
And Toronto, I love. So
it's kind of it has like the sister city of New York a little bit.
I'll say that like the more I've gotten to know it, the more I've fallen in love with it. I found the parts of it that like remind me of Brooklyn. I love it. So when I'm done with The Boys, which will be next season, that's when I'll reassess. I will say I get really bad seasonal affective disorder, and I need to be in LA for the winter. I get really bad, like really bad.
Yeah,
can't.
No, it's too much.
No, it's too much.
The cold is wild.
It's not even the cold; it's the darkness. That's it.
It's
the darkness. It's like dark so early, and then like I just like to be outside and in nature. So, ideally bi-coastal, which could easily happen since my family's still there. I love this little dog is just passed out in between us. But wait, so many tangents. I want to go back to something you were talking about.
Hold on. Okay, so wait. Okay, so what we were talking about is not leaving that part of yourself and disassociating. The reintegration back into the disassociation. So I found myself jumping into another relationship. We had no business being in a relationship, but we were very much in love, and like there was such a cosmic. There were so many cosmic things that lined up. Like I was sandwiched in between his parents' birthdays. So his parents were November 14th and November 16th, and I was November 15th. So there was these cosmic things, but we weren't right for each other, but we certainly like.
You got to do it.
But
if you're falling in love, you got to do it.
And there were so many. We were just like in each other's.
I met him.
Did you? We could talk about it after.
No, I'm just saying. I remember because
oh my God, that's right. Yes,
he would have been around.
Famous Adjacent, 100%. You were there.
He would have been around.
Oh my God, no, totally. He was helping out with a project we did. Famous Adjacent, and Erin was kind enough to be in it. It was great. We had Peter Facinelli and Kellen Lutz and
Jessica Jones was here.
Yeah. No, he was very charismatic. He was very funny. He was very charming, and I think that there's like he was reading my mind. But I think like he was coming out of a marriage and I was coming out of a really traumatic relationship, and I just think, and we were the people that needed to teach each other some lessons, and I think he found his person who's very much like they're so a fit, and I think for me like we needed to learn lessons.
Yes. So may I ask you a quick question about that?
Yeah.
So was it a painful acceptance to like? Did you think he was your forever at a certain point?
I think my higher self knew that we weren't, even though because I had never experienced these cosmic things. We had done, psychedelics of like healing, because I was looking for all these healing modalities.
The connective.
And it was soul bonding.
Yes.
We were like having telepathic conversations. We were reading each other's minds. There were experiences. Like we had sex on every single level of like mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually, talking to God. I can't go back.
You're like one.
And so when you have those experiences, it's soul bonding to an incredible degree. And that relationship, I think for both of us was really hard to let go of, but we knew it just wasn't right, because I think like our triggers triggered each other, and it did highlight the things that I needed to definitely work on.
Yeah.
And I think like I was also doing this pleasing thing of I'm going to turn myself into this thing that you want me to be.
Yeah.
Like
codependent. Yeah.
He wanted this like 70s girl.
Listen, I'm in Codependence Anonymous.
Yes.
So like I get it. Like I just
And so like the whole, I used to have abandonment. I think I was like an anxious and avoidant at the same time.
Same.
And now I feel like I'm secure.
Same. Actually, after a relationship, which most people wouldn't think that I would feel that way. But when you feel the love and you feel it's real.
Yeah. But you feel it for yourself. So you're like, I don't need anybody.
Yeah.
Like that's a really, and my friends are the ones like Christy and Alona and my friend Leah and Alexandra. Like they were the people that really healed me of like.
Oh my God, women. Friendships.
Oh my God.
Female friendships. They saved my life this
They
year.
saved my life.
Saved my
100%.
life.
100%.
Like just the power of them. It's so beautiful. And that's why when I look at people or women who don't want to look at other women in that way. Like we're all in it together. They don't look at it that way.
These are my chosen family. They're my sisters. This is my Sex and the City fam. Like I manifested
oh my
this.
God.
They're like the 4 girls at the dinner table. Like it's at the diner. But hold on. So real quick.
So the relationship.
So that relationship, we were both holding on, and I think we were both wanting to be this person for each other, and there was just a lot of,
I think
we needed to grow up, and I just don't think we were right. And
but this was 7 years ago that it
this
ended.
is 7 years ago.
So do you think, like, just out of curiosity, at the time when you ended it, like, I'm projecting now for sure, but I'm curious, like the hard pill to swallow is to accept that someone is not your future and that they were a lesson. That's what I found to be so interesting.
Yeah.
Like,
no, he was
like you know what I mean? Like
he taught me so much, and I think like I poured myself into working on myself so much in that relationship. So what had happened, so it's like my great aunt died a month later, my aunt died a month later, my uncle was murdered a month later. I go through this terrible breakup.
Okay, and, so when I went through the breakup,
and then I went to Hoffman. So literally it's the same thing. So I was like, and then like I almost had a friend breakup. Like simultaneously, my life was just falling apart.
Yeah, I've had my first friend,
and I was living with my boyfriend.
They're hard.
It was, but no, we came together, and this is Christy. We almost had a friend breakup. It was just there was too much chaos. There was too much, and it was
and that's what brought you to Hoffman.
Yeah. So Alona was like, you need to go to Hoffman, have some more tools.
Wow.
So on this journey, so then a year later, like a fire happens, and this place that I was renting, and I lost everything. I had this little tiny bag. Yeah. And so after this, I was so disassociated from so many traumas, because it was like, it was not raining men. It was raining like trauma. So there was a point when I had to start, I couldn't get a job to save my life. Like I couldn't book.
Of course, it all happens.
It just all happens all at once.
I want to hear this. I need this.
So I move into, around the time, this is actually one of the best things that ever happened to me, the fire. So I'm literally like, I just found out like I lost everything. And this is actually, I knew like the propheticness of God. God told me was like, God, like, hey, don't move into this. Like I moved into this house. And once I moved in, God was like, hey, there's going to be a fire. Like you need to move. And I was like, this is crazy. Then Christy's husband, Bob's, who's also has this same ability, was like, hey, there's going to be a fire. Yeah. He's like, there's going to be a fire. Like, what are you doing? Like living in Malibu, like up in the hills. And I was like, fire, schmire. Then that night, it was really windy, it was really dry, and it was really hot. And it was the middle of, it was November, and it was just really like there were fires way, way, way up, like in Paradise, the Paradise fires, where we're talking like hundreds of miles away. And I just remember thinking, like having this conversation, like God was like, hey, there's going to be a fire tomorrow. You should get ready. It's bring Charlie to work day. Like bring my dog to work day. And I'm just like, what is going on? This is nonsense, right? That morning. Along this journey, I had told my landlord, I said, hey, landlord, I keep hearing this crazy voice in my head.
By the way, I just like had a crisis go down in my place and I had to move out. Like I like lost mine.
Oh my God, we need to get into it.
This is crazy. I'm just saying the parallels are too much. This is actually too much. Something
it's you and I'm here.
No, like what the fuck is, like, I can't wait to hear it.
Oh my God.
I needed this.
So
what the hell? Okay.
So I told my landlord, I was like, hey, listen, I was like, I'm worried about fires. I keep hearing fires. And he's like, there haven't been fires in 10, 15 years. So I was like, I need to know where the escape routes are. Yeah. I need new fire alarms to make sure they're working. I want to have a carbon monoxide detectors installed. And he's like, you're such a pain in my ass. You're being neurotic. You're being overthinking this. And I was like, please, can you just humor me? And he's like, fine. That morning, I wake up to all these crazy texts. I have no self-service. Everything's off. And I just hear, from my friend Alexandra and my sister being like, the fires. It's 7 a.m. and I hear a beeping. It's constant beeping. And I'm like, is this a carbon monoxide detector going off? So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna take Charlie out. And I have to thank God I also have this audition that I'm like, for Orange is the New Black. And so I didn't even audition for it. So I take Charlie out, and normally there's all these animals, and you hear the birds tweeting, and and there's gone. You hear this tiny little bird just going,
they know it's out.
And it's literally, they were gone. The birds and the bees. I'm not even kidding. All the animals are gone. There were so many birds. There was so much wildlife. They are all gone. And I see this giant impending doom fire coming on the horizon as if it's going to just be a rain cloud within minutes. And I was like, wow, right on time. So then that night I have this vision and I'm like, the house is gone. Like I saw it, the fire just being engulfed in flames. So like I grab whatever I can. And
do you think that helped you? Like, do you think that helped you like mentally? Like instead of this abrupt, like shit, my house is gone, you knew it was going to happen, or like
3 days before. So 3 days before I saw the vision and I saw it. So for me, when I just went, holy shit, I need to grab things. So I had this weird internal dialogue of my rational mind being, we're just going away for a few days, versus shaking hysterically, you need to grab everything you can. It's coming and it's all going to be gone. And I couldn't accept it. So it's again, this disassociation. So it's the disassociation. So then ultimately, like find out everything's gone. And I'm sitting in Christy's place and I realized like I had this vision beforehand and I just see this vision over and over. It's so vivid. It's so real. And I went, I'm trying to like control it in my mind and I'm trying to manifest. I'm trying to like see that my house is going to be okay. It's not. And I was like, there's nothing I can do. There's nothing I can do. So I'm sitting down and I'm hysterically crying once I found the news that it was that it was true. And Christy's like, look, you can use this time to cry about it, which you're totally in your right. Or you can use this time to alchemize it and do everything you can to alchemize. Like you have a vast amount of energy now. And you can use this energy and wield it, and it's like changing to, turning things into gold. It's alchemizing the energy, right? To use it to paint with it.
It's on you to metabolize it way that. And I would just argue to say that you can cry while. Oh
no, I did. No, I did. That's exactly. I was like,
let it out.
But I think she was more worried about staying a victim and not using this time. And so I would cry about it. I would move through it. I would dance. I would cry.
Yes.
And so I was constantly. And so that year, I was in a timeout and, I manifested actually Christy's place. Weirdly, the craziest place I always thought about, like, hey, once you guys move out, I want your place. Here I am. They're moving out at the same time. My house, just blew up. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm moving into your place.
Here is the
this is crazy. This is so crazy.
Like,
so then I'm like, and now I have to sort, like, I can't get a job. I have this new place and I have all this time to kind of sit with myself, and I had to sort through every traumatic thing that's ever happened to me, like being bullied when I was in, 6th grade, and I never cried about it because Boston kids, you don't cry, and so I had to kind of like, what was my relationship with men, growing up, and what was those first crushes. And I was, had the crush on the bully and like, or what, who like bullied me. And so I had to unpack all this.
Or after Hoffman, like did Hoffman
after. So Hoffman
taught you that, because that's what I'm going through at the moment.
Oh my God, you're integrating more and more. So then between the fire of the disassociation and then this whole like, almost like murder, rape thing that thankfully didn't happen. But I had to go back into the memory and I didn't want to face it.
That's what I went through.
So you had to go back in the memory, because here's the thing, you had to kind of like change it. I don't mean like it happened. I had to fully accept. I had to fully go back into it and re-experience it and see, because I was so at the time I didn't experience it. Like Susie, like the body had left, like or my spirit had left.
Yes.
So when I went back in, I had to re-experience it, and then I was like, I can't believe this fucking happened, and all these other things happened, and I had to re-experience them. I had to cry it out, and I felt like there was a moment where I literally was like, I don't want to be here, and I went like, God, and God was like, okay, bubble time. I'm like, I know you want to kill yourself right now, but let's put a pin in this and let's give it 30 minutes, and if you still want to kill yourself, we can talk about it. And I was like, I don't want to be here. It's like, let's take a nap. Let's regroup after 30 minutes. So then. And then it just, the moment would leave, right?
Yeah.
But there was like a moment where it was like,
overwhelming.
It was overwhelming. You just feel manic. You feel crazy. And so then going back in, here's the interesting thing about when you go back into the memory and you have to re-experience it. You have to re-experience it so you can make sense of it. So you can start seeing the lessons and like, where did I go wrong, or what could I have done, or how did I, what was my responsibility of putting myself in this situation?
Yes.
What was their responsibility in this? And then you have to like examine, how did I fall into this giant fucking ditch, and how do I make sure this doesn't happen again, which is PTSD. You're constant compassion,
with so much
compassion and forgiveness.
That's the thing that you find in Hoffman, and I just like, it's so hard to find, and I don't know, like they hack your brain chemistry. I don't know how they do it, but and that's not. Listen, like I said, I'm not dogmatic. However you find it is however you find it. But the interesting thing for me is like I went back to like a moment with that severe pain, and it was the answer for me because all I had been doing was taking so much accountability that I was not able to be present with friends, literally physically,
because you can't, because you're literally thinking about danger. I
didn't know who I was. I didn't trust myself because of things that were said to me, and I believed them, and I just thought I just believed that narrative, and I was in so much pain based on an accumulation of things that happened. And I went back to this moment of like this pain, and I just thought, oh my God, I felt it. And I felt the severity of it. I would not let myself go back there. I thought I was protecting myself. And that's what I will say is like, one of these things that I've experienced in ketamine therapy, actually, similarly, is like, there are things that in therapy, and I'm not saying this is wrong, everyone is different, but certain things that we will categorize as like being negative, right? Like going and disassociating or blacking out. And I just had this weird epiphany in ketamine therapy. I actually went to ketamine therapy for migraines. And then I ended up.
And then you followed that.
Well,
like, that thing, because it always manifests like, spiritually and emotionally first.
Yes. And honestly, I needed to do it for that reason as well. Like I had been dealing with.
It's always connected to emotions.
Yeah. Exactly.
And the spiritual aspects.
The migraines, but also like I had been dealing with like low grade, but like functional depression for a while that would spike up and spike down, and like it helped with that, but I didn't go for that, and it was amazing that like it
suddenly you pull this thread, life. And then
it's the only other thing that like I walked out and like it was crazy, but and I'll circle back to the moment where I just blacked out. I remember like doing ketamine and just having this feeling like I need this for myself more than I need it for the migraine, but let's just do it because my dad had done it, because he also has like suffered with, similar things. And the efficacy is very strong the younger you are, but it was strong also with migraines, and I suffer from horrible migraines. And for the first time in my life, I just looked at a switchboard of my demons, and instead of like vilifying them and saying go away, I said, come here, I want to talk to you, to every single one. Why are you here? Like and then I became friends with them. Like I literally was like,
have compassion. Not
even just compassion, I was like, oh wow, this pattern, you've been trying to protect me, you have been trying you have been trying to scream out for help, and you've been present in me because you were just trying to wave a flag to everyone around me because you knew I wouldn't speak up for myself. And I thank you for trying to protect me.
Is that your shadow? I feel like our shadows like do that sometimes.
Yes. And I feel like I have a bunch of them that manifest in different ways. But I was like, for the first time, I had been going to therapy and working on myself and trying to like really conquer this perfectionism. I had nearly died in my like early 20s from an eating disorder. And I, for the first time in my life, everyone will say like, no, bad. And I spoke to her like in that moment. I was like, oh my God, you're here because I couldn't speak on behalf of myself, and you tried to save me because that's the only way that I would have gotten help. But then going back to the moment where I blacked out, it was like I then did the Hoffman process, and it was like I felt the pain, and I just said to myself, this is my way through these kinds of things. Everyone has their different way, but I was like, thank you for blacking out and trying to protect me. I couldn't feel the pain. I just wasn't ready for it.
I've been there.
So it's just interesting, and I just say to people sometimes, maybe that thought process will help someone, because then you're more forgiving towards yourself. And I see that, like, I very much see now that I just have been trying to protect myself, and I needed to, and it came about when I could handle it. Because I'm telling you, I couldn't handle it at the time. And I'm not saying that the next time I won't be able to use what I've learned, but I just look at all these moments where I pathologized and criticized myself, and I actually am like, No. It's not a character deficit. It's nothing that involves like your lack of ability to metabolize pain. You have been working so hard to protect yourself and just and let yourself feel this pain and move on, but don't feel bad that you weren't able to confront it until now. Mm-hmm. You know, don't feel bad about that, because I would have previously.
Same. It took me about 10 years to confront all that, because it was too much. It piled on so thick, and then I found myself in such a state of chaos where I was like, I don't want to be here. And I'm somebody who loves life. Like, it's really hard for me to ever, like, I don't think I would have done it, but I do think, but there was like this mania of like, I feel.
You can't take anymore.
You can't take anymore. Can't take it.
I didn't know. I did not. I was in a state of pain that like, that's why I was avoiding it later on, because I just like, couldn't go back there. I was like, no.
And then when you're strong enough, you can.
You can, and then yes.
And
exactly.
then and so what's so interesting is like when you go back, and I had to sort out my life with a fine-tooth comb of every single
what I'm doing right
thing
now.
That I had to figure out. How did I get here? How did I get here? And so I had to look at everything and find peace and find compassion, but then also like, how can I make a different choice for next time?
Yes.
How can I manifest a different reality?
The right road.
And so like you have to kind of, you know, for those, you know, people who are struggling with that, and you know. And so for me, like I had to reintegrate those lessons of this happened, but this doesn't have to be my story. This doesn't have to be who I am. This is not my identity. It's just something that happened, and it's like a footnote now.
Oh my God.
You know, and so like I'm at the point where I'm like, yeah, these things happen, and it was wild and it was crazy, and it like actually has. Now it's only made me a better person now, because now I see more. I have a superpower of seeing so much more.
Like moments with people. That's what I fucking live for.
Yeah.
And it leads to the most profound. Like there is science behind the fact that altruism makes you happy as well.
And I have love for like, you know, that the guy that almost happened. Like now you would never believe that, but like I wish him well, and you know, like
honestly,
wishes like honestly,
it's like swallowing poison, hoping
the other
kills
person,
your neighbor.
Yeah,
like I do, you're not neighbor, your enemy, and I do believe that.
And I genuinely
abide by that.
Yeah,
I don't resent. I don't live with that. That's not something that's like innate in me. I never have for some reason. I live with other shit, like, but that's not something I do. I can't.
Yeah, I think that's the trust you have for people, and like the good intention, because I do think that humanity, like this is what I think about humanity. I think most people are really good. This is what I found in New York. Probably about like 90% of people. Then you have like 3% that are like really kind of fucked up, and then you have like maybe like 1% of people like the serial killer.
Yeah.
And like, you know, I think something just happened, and it's like, you know, you hear the serial killer stories, and you know, and it's like they had terrible moms, and
and pedophiles were often
Oh.
abused as like children themselves. Like, it's compassion with boundaries, but yeah, it's weird. It's like I can earnestly say that I have love for people in a way that I know they don't possess for me. And for a while that hurt. I was like, oh, they hate me.
Yeah.
And now I'm like, no, that doesn't hurt anyone except for themselves. But I don't have that. Like, I just don't. And I know that, like, it's so funny when you speak to girlfriends and they just want the best for you. And I've been there before myself as a girlfriend. You want to, like, yell at this fucking dude. And I'm like, no, I'm telling you, like, this is, like, I have so much, like it's impossible. I can't turn the faucet off, you know? And I cannot ever stomach any vindictiveness or passive aggression like that. I can't turn the faucet off. If I've really truly loved you, I will not be in love with you, but if you proved yourself to me to be a good person, there will always be the belief that like you are inherently or innately good. And that's it. Like,
yeah, but I think we're all a part of God. Like I think even I think collectively as humans, I think we all are a part of the divine. And I think we all have that part within us, you know? It's like in the movie Harry Potter where, Severus Black.
Yes.
Who was saying like, we all have, you know, good and, you know.
Yes, paradoxical.
And, like,
yes, that's what I love. Like,
but I think most people are good and want to do good. But I do think
paradoxical.
Yeah. We're all we're walking contradictions.
We are, and it's like hard to accept that, but I'm so, And it's funny because like higher power is something that that I was raised in like a very agnostic upbringing, but we were Unitarian Universalists. It's like basically like it's an agnostic but very spiritual, very spiritual.
That's
like
awesome.
My mom and I would celebrate the summer solstice and be dancing in Central Park with like beautiful and spiritual, and I was allowed to be whatever I wanted. And like I remember like first going through treatment for eating disorders, and like I would go to OA, right? Weirdly enough, and I understand why this was the case, but I developed a thyroid disease, and during season 3, I lost a lot of weight because I was over medicating, and so the issue there was that everyone around me thought it was a relapse, and it wasn't, so I wasn't being listened to. So that was that, and it's no one's fault because like I understand, like I was the girl that like was identified by her really, really serious. I was almost hospitalized, right? And it was
didn't know this.
Yes, it was like very, very like it's not something that I started to speak about until very recently, because it's just something that like honestly was so associated with who I was until I was about 23, 20. Like it was like I'm in recovery fully, and I'm so grateful to be, and I'm humbled to the fact that like you're always in recovery, right? Like, but I really, really, I had this amazing therapist, Lisa, who saved my life, and she's the one who taught me about the prospect. Like maybe like she did not believe, and I'm not saying that like one has to adhere to this, but I'm in line with her beliefs, which is you can fully recover from it.
Yeah, I was gonna say you're like in recovery until you're not.
Yes, exactly. It's just OA is like the 12-step program, and so they don't believe that you do. I'm saying like one size does not fit all, but I am recovered, and it's been a while. But then I went through this thyroid thing, and it was like shit. I get why people don't trust me, but so that was a freaky thing. But the ketamine moment, which. So funny when you're going for migraines, you walk out and you're like, well, wow, I just had a spiritual car wash. But
what was a spiritual car wash for you?
I called up that side of myself that had been, I only starved myself, nothing else but starved myself. I didn't want to take up space in the room. And I was very militant, and I've always had the mindset, which like my Hoffman teacher pointed out, I have to suffer to gain things. So I have to suffer to eat, like all these things, like I have to work out, I have to wait. And it was all about like, once you dip to a certain level of weight or like low enough, you go into a psychosis. At that point, you don't know, like that you literally do. Like you go into a psychosis. You can't, it's like an addiction almost. Like you can't. So I did get to that point, and then I met this amazing therapist once again who saved my life. And like with the ketamine therapy, it was still my disordered eating was very much on the way out. Mm-hmm. But what it did is for the first time, because my disorder or anyone's isms tend to be not vilified, but like put in a box that like this is the bad stuff. This is the bad stuff you don't want. I just spoke to her as if she was a person. I anthropomorphized. I can never pronounce that. I can never.
What is
anthropomorphized? It's like when you. Oh, no, that's not true. Actually, that's completely incorrect. That's like if I took like a vacuum cleaner and turned it into a person. Wrong word to use. I turned her into a person, and I spoke to her, and I was like, "Why have you been here for this long?" And she was like, "Because you would never speak up for yourself, and I needed to let people know that you weren't okay." But the ironic thing is that since then, when I've not been okay, because if you have a really severe eating disorder. And it's scaring everyone around you, and you resolve it. It's like people need to see to really believe you. I've tried to communicate like, no, I'm in a bad place that is comparable. Like that's not even. I'm in a worse place than back then. But it's like, it was this protective thing. I just spoke to her and I said, thank you. I said, thank you for being here. I know why you were here now. You're here because you knew I wouldn't speak up on behalf of myself. You knew that I was just trying to get by in my discomfort, and I would have never told anyone I was suffering. So you were the thing that needed to show people around me that I wasn't okay. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, I would never have said anything. And it's so sad in retrospect that I couldn't say anything. But
because you were that kid who was trying to get water for both your parents who were fighting.
Yeah,
I feel like that's the sum of
when you learn to regulate yourself in a room, and that
your earliest
and
memory.
There are dysregulated people in the room. a lot of the time that tends to create codependency later in life because you learn if I regulate.
You're like, if I can do something, I can solve this problem.
Or
I can, if I'm perfect, then I can, you know, make everything okay.
It's that compensatory. Usually, you go in one direction or the other. You get rebellious, or you're like the
both.
angel child. I was the angel child.
I was both.
I was the angel child. Like I was like,
yeah.
I wanted approval from my parents. I still have like issues with authority figures. But the point is, like, I regulated myself, and I learned that is how that was a survival mechanism amongst many other things.
Yeah.
And just like, so that's what I realized is, I don't know. I've never heard of anyone speak about it that way. I'm sure many people have when they think about their isms, and maybe like trying to befriend them and talk to them, and instead of just saying, oh no, you're bad. Why are you here? And then it kind of creates this interesting relationship where you get into this cycle of thinking where you look back on a lot of things that people will otherwise dismiss as a pathology, which it could be, but you say like, oh no, like I see what I've been doing, and fucking A, I've really tried, and I haven't done it the right way, but like I've really just been like, I was just so down on myself for so long, and then, you know, it's just that has a contagious effect, and it will ruin your life, and it won't ruin your life, but you'll be living in a zone that the discomfort was just, you know.
Yeah, I think of my shadow. So my shadow, talk about people, you know, we learned about this also in Hoffman, and actually it's Carl Jung, and Jordan Peterson talks about this, you know, your shadow, really integrating your shadow and integrating all those parts. And it's still a constant thing of just reintegrating, like the more, because when all this trauma happened, you compartmentalize, and you know, it's you don't want to deal with it, so you put it in these boxes,
and it what you resist persists.
Yeah. So then you have to reintegrate it, and so like and so the shadow, my shadow, how I would describe my shadow is if Harley Quinn, but my own version of Harley Quinn. Always with a bat, but probably in a codependent relationship with would be the Ginger Wildling from Game of Thrones, like the guy who has the big beard. He's like, oh, I just want to murder and fuck.
That people are going to kill me. I haven't watched it.
He's also
0.01% of the population that hasn't, because I'm overwhelmed by the prospect.
He didn't see it either.
I haven't seen it.
You haven't seen it either.
It's just like, I'm going to watch it.
Have you seen Braveheart?
Yes, of course.
Okay, so Braveheart. Do you remember the guy who's like, Ireland, it's mine, the best friend, who looks like he's crazy, and you know, so let's say it's also very equivalent to him, and if Harley Quinn had a baby, that would be my shadow.
Okay.
Right? So it's like sort of kind of a lovable crazy where it's just like, like, but just, you know, like, I get to fight, and I get to, like,
I know what my shadow, you want to hear something?
Yeah, what's your shadow?
What a segue. This is crazy. So
we're gonna get to the boys soon.
Insane?
What?
No, literally, this is about the boys. The season 4 is about shadow work with Starlight.
Oh my God.
Annie January, excuse me. Literally, like, I mean, like, I'm gonna go into spoilers.
I love, go. Let's do it.
Because,
spoiler alert.
Because yes,
we can put that in the chapters.
It's already been.
It's already.
So at the end of the season, there is someone who comes. Like, we have to take down a shapeshifter, and then you find out at the end of episode 7, that I am the shapeshifter. So there are 2 of me. And
I am the shadow.
I am the literally.
You have to take down yourself.
I have to take down myself, and it's about
to fight darkness is to fight yourself.
Identity crisis. That's my entire storyline.
Sorry.
No. Exactly, literally. But I've always said Eric Kripke, our showrunner, who I love as a crystal ball. I'm like, bro, that's a lot. Like, dude, relax. What the he's not woo enough to say this, but I'll say it. He's a fucking psychic. Okay, no. I'm not like.
So what was that? So what was the experience like? So what was your shadow experience?
I at the time wasn't aware that I was about to have a year that was gonna like literally like
mirror that,
like drag me across concrete and like make me lose. So basically, the entire.
Do you think that mirrored? Do you think that influenced where you were going in life? Don't you think the stories we tell influence our lives?
Well, here's something interesting my doctor told me, which is that they did a study that involves some different kinds of jobs or experiences, but also actors. When you go through an experience as an actor, your brain processes processes it as if it really
happened.
So that means that I have
mirror
been
neurons.
Raped. That means I have been I've killed myself. That means I've been gang raped. That means I've been like. And by the way, not literally. I really don't want to say that in a way that negates the experience. But it's just like the body keeps the score. So
I love that book.
I love that book.
It's
my
so
cortisol
good.
system. My cortisol is like triple the normal.
You need to
values.
do neurofeedback. It literally changes your cortisol level. My PTSD is gone.
I can't wait.
It's the only thing.
We've tried everything.
Literally, okay. In the body keeps the score.
Yeah.
Neurofeedback that Joe Dispenza used and all these NBA players and NFL players. It is the only thing that has like basically an almost 100% rate of curing because EMDR only does a 50-50.
Okay, I tried that.
It didn't quite work for me. It loosened it.
I think I need
whereas
the big
neurofeedback, I can now be intimate with people again. Like I felt like that was taken away. I didn't feel safe.
Every actor needs because like when
neurofeedback
she said to me
life.
that what you've been and here's the thing. I have not been through these experiences, and it needs to be said because there have been women who have, and I don't want to take away from the gravity of what they really went through.
Sure.
So I want to backtrack and say not literally the same, but like when she said that to me, and she said like if you're an actor who goes to the dark place, like when you need to, like your body has kept that, and I'm like, she didn't know like what I had been through on the show and other shows, and I was like, damn, okay, but. Basically, I lose my powers in the most recent season. And it's reflective of, it's a metaphor of losing myself. Because I quit the 7 and I then am in the boys and I'm like, okay, I did the thing, I quit. Here I am, I made the choice and everyone's been waiting for this moment, including myself.
Just in case anyone who doesn't know, she's playing a superhero, and then she quit these. Basically, they're these celebrities, like they're these like, hey, we're kind of gods, but we're really fucked up gods that do terrible things.
Existed, would they actually be good in this world? And it's like, it's a satire. It's a satire that was like meant to satisfy superhero fatigue.
And you're the good one where you're trying to do you're
and like
a flawed character but still trying to do you're playing a full-fledged like real person. Ernest. She's earnest and she cares. Yeah,
she cares and
then like, you quit.
I quit this
the
like,
superhero.
There's a group of like 7 superheroes that are it.
Homelander is so good.
Oh my god.
Tony Stark. Oh my god, he's amazing.
I know.
He's so good.
I know. He's excellent.
He's
like
so good. The nuance and he's so funny.
He's so great.
Oh my god. And Jack Quaid, I have such a crush on him.
Oh my god, Jack, I love him. He's my brother. He's my brother. I love him so much. He's my favorite person. But so this 7, like my character has been through everything. Like let's just say in the first episode, she goes through a Me Too situation. She learns that all of the heroes that she's been working towards, like working alongside her entire life, she gets into the 7. She realizes they're all they're rapey. They're literally like I'm sorry, like they really are. They're
you have Chase Crawford.
They're rapists. I'm sorry. What am I talking about? They are.
He's having a relationship with an octopus with a because he's a swim.
He's an aquatic character. Like it's just. But Seth Rogen and Evan Goldberg
is a.
I mean, like I know. By the way, like the people that they have, like Will Ferrell. I know.
Stopped in. I know. He drops the N word of just like doing like I'm like it is the craziest
show. Just wait till you see season 5, dude.
It's like
it's gonna be our season of because it's our final season. It's gonna
be the amount of gore I've never like. It's so visceral. I had nightmares after last night. Like oh my god, the hero.
I was there every day of that shoot. But wait. Let me get back to this because this is fucking crazy. I lose my powers in season 4, the most recent season, because it's reflective of me losing my identity. I quit the 7 and I get confronted with my past and bad things that I've done. And I have this existential crisis of am I good or am I not good?
The Harry Potter, am I? I feel like I'm, am I not good anymore?
And then I go into I basically have a breakdown. And I lose myself for an entire season. I lose my powers, which is, like I said, reflective of losing myself. I don't know who I am. And the conclusion of the season is me being abducted by the shapeshifter who's playing me, who has sex with Huey, who proposes to him, who, And I had to embody a different character who's a sociopath, and I had to study that for months, like studied animal work. Like I had to become like the character towards the end of season 4 is absolutely comparable in terms of her.
That's terrifying.
To Homelander.
It's terrifying.
No.
Like, you have to step in. It's so terrifying.
It was scary, but it was amazing. But it was.
And why was it amazing?
Because I love work like that. It's so just
the shadow work. shadow work.
Like, and also playing a character not like myself. Listen, Starlight's better than I am. Like she's like the golden girl, but I got to do a fight with myself. Like I fight myself and I kill myself, but not literally. I kill the shapeshifter.
Sure.
And the metaphor is like that.
The part of Voldemort. You kill the part of Voldemort
like,
within you.
But it's me.
Yeah.
And so she's having this identity crisis, and she literally is like, am I good? Am I bad? She doesn't know. And the funny thing is I walked away from that season saying in press, I was like, the fact that she's the one questioning whether she's good means she's good because no one else is questioning that. And that's literally what I was asking
humanity,
myself
though. You're
the
like,
past year.
Yeah.
I'm like, I look back on the past year and I'm like constantly thinking, is this the right thing to do by this person? I was not able to like turn that. It's so crazy how you can, here's the thing, you can give compassion to others and then you can't find it for yourself. And that's why I think group therapy for me has been so helpful.
Yeah.
Because you look at others and you're like, why don't you? And then you think about yourself and you're like,
why am I not doing that for myself?
Yes,
I'm so compassionate towards other people.
I, for some reason, played a character for an entire season of television. And honestly, it just like I have an abortion, like I had an abortion storyline and it gets revealed publicly by someone who is like very much like comparable to the right wing, like media, right? Like someone who's an icon of the right wing media. And it was it's a weird thing that happened last year. And listen, I feel like now my psychological immune system is strong enough, and it's weird. Like it made things come up that were painful. I don't think it made things come up, actually. I think that it was all within me, and I think that it helped me get through it. And I just, it's just crazy that it was about that, and the ending of the shapeshifter, like playing two characters, and I just, the fact that like it was all about Annie getting in her own way, and that in the end she finds her powers back because she finds herself again. And I just like, I don't know. It's so weird to play a character on television like that and then walk away from a season like that and you think, hello, didn't you like learn anything? I would defend Annie or anyone in that position, and I just did not find that in myself. But
now you have.
But now I have, and like,
do you think that storyline kind of helped?
I think that storyline, it helped because honestly, like, in a way that you wouldn't expect. It was so hard. It was so challenging. And I love acting, and it came out, and it was like, watching myself, it had been a while because it's the industry, right? So there's a movie that I was going to do that was delayed. That shit happens, but it's been a while, and I've never worked harder. And I needed to see like it in front of my eyes again. It made me remember that I can do that, because it's been, I do not think, and I think the industry wants to deny this, but I think that taboo subject matters can momentarily impact one's work.
Yeah.
And I have completely accepted that because
I mean, great stories are, about the hero's journey and everything that you're talking about, where it's like it helps humanity. Like, we make sense of our world through stories.
Yes.
Storytelling. Like, and that was just around a campfire, just talking
totally
about stories, and we have to make sense of our world, and how do we continue
why
to.
I started to do it.
Yeah.
It made me feel less lonely when I was growing up. And so I don't know. And then it just, it was, there was a period of time where, like, you work that hard and then things happen, and for the first time in my life, I'm being followed by paparazzi for really negative reasons that I'm afraid are gonna force me to never work again. And I'm like stuck in my house. And
I wanted to ask you about that, because that's like
that was like, and I was also going through stuff personally that I'm private about, because we can't tell everyone what's going on with us. Like, nor do I want to. I need to experience these things on my own. But I just, there's something that happens when you I got scared for a second, because
it's like Britney, the thing that happened with Britney, where she was the Marilyn energy. She was the epitome of what everyone, like all the girls wanted to be her, all the men wanted to be with her. And it was like, she was very sexualized, like as a young woman. And it's like to carry that is when there isn't a playbook. Like I see that for Selena Gomez. I see that where it can, and you see how normal she was. Like for Britney, she was so normal. She was so like just a girl from the South and like so sweet. And what happened to her? And I'm like, when you read her book, you're like, yeah, no wonder there isn't a playbook for this. Like because it's like a manual. Because they built her up. She was, she was godlike, And I think when people are, it brings up everyone, that part of you that I think probably for a lot of people who want to be her, like, how could I ever be like her? Because she's sort of, like touching God in a sense.
Which I have never wanted to, like, my mission is to, like I said, make women feel safe on set. I always do that. Yeah. But also to make sure everyone knows that I do not abide by that bullshit hierarchy. But it's sort of, the thing for me was like, I will never be able to, things can impact your career and no one will ever know, because at a certain point, you're either going to be accused of lying or you're going like, there's no right way to address something. Mm-hmm. And so if in that moment, I thought if something impacts my career, I'm the only person that will live with the fact that I know the truth. Mm-hmm. And I've been acting half my life. Like, this is sacred to me. It's my favorite thing to do. It's my happy place. Yeah. So there was a moment where I was like, and I there's a lot of volatility, and I just thought, I just need to proceed with caution because I love it, and I just love it so much, and I don't want I don't want 11-year-old Erin to I don't want to develop a relationship with it that's toxic or in fear, and I just love it. And so,
what's interesting? It's the machine. So it's like all these other people's ideas when you become something else. So you no longer become Erin, you become this idea to a lot of people, right? And it's like it suddenly becomes this thing of like what I think Britney went through, where she was at the height where everyone, was in love with her.
Right.
And then because she couldn't go any higher, and then everyone now is picking her apart of like, well, you're not that great, or like, let me try to bring you down, like to bring where we are, or what like, I feel like that's what happens. Right. So there's sort of this,
everything's so reductive. It's like,
and so I think like what happens is then, people build people up and then they want to tear them all down, because they're like, well, you're not that great.
But can mess with people's lives. And so that's what's not okay. And so that's why I just, you know what?
And that's what I'm saying is like, you're a real person. So it's, and you're like, well, this is some concoction. This is some idea, and it's like with Britney, the paparazzi and everything was looking for that moment as she was going through. And she gave it to them.
And she just was like, you know what? Like, you understand, and it breaks my heart, and that is literally,
she couldn't grieve. She wasn't allowed to, be seen as a full person.
Exactly.
She couldn't, like, she was going through a breakup. She didn't have custody of her kids.
Yes.
Who wouldn't be, like,
oh my God,
losing their mind in that situation as a mom?
I went through the worst personal year of my life while being under public scrutiny, and the combination of that actually, weirdly, put things into perspective in the public sense. Mm-hmm. I don't wish any of that I've been through on a personal level to happen to anyone, where like literally this stuff can happen and you don't care because you're facing some real life shit. But the thing is, like, I feel like I really just, I really, really, really want to take every opportunity I can. I don't, to make sure that I am not being selfish and remaining, and I'm not gonna, what I've learned is if you're too outspoken, it just becomes about you. Like, I don't want to talk about my own shit. I don't want to like address things or like talk about, like, as soon as I say this, it's an Erin Moriarty, blah, blah, blah. I just want to like generalize.
That's a weird thing. That's such a weird thing.
But here's the thing. It's like I just feel like.
So how do you block out the noise? So how do you do you not check your phone?
I don't check like the
updates,
the comments and stuff. Here's the thing. They got very out of hand to a degree where it was very clear that they were an exercise of rage. And I'm not saying that people, like, I hurt people, but I just don't. That is like, that just doesn't mean anything. You develop a callus eventually. But the thing for me is like, that's nothing. The thing for me is like, I have worked so hard, and the fact that like I am working on a character that is literally doing things that I admire.
Yeah.
And I'm talking about wanting to not be afraid of the taboo.
Yeah.
In interviews, and then like honestly, we are still living in a culture where headlines are reductive, and if you've got your name associated with one taboo,
clickbait, and clickbait means money and views, and I think
like zeitgeisty like perception, and that is something that broke my heart in a way, because I thought, wow, like I just have worked so hard, and also like nobody knows, and I just don't want to be in a position of I just don't like, I don't want to fucking address the shit anymore, because it's more pain. Think about it this way. The more painful option of the two is like if you know the truth and you are being eviscerated for things that are so
out of your control,
out of my control, but also like just not founded in facts. And that in itself is a controversial thing to say. I'm not supposed to fucking deny it. So I just want to bury myself in the work, and I just love it so much.
I think that's the best thing that you can do.
I think I can do that, but like
I look at Hugh Jackman, and I feel like,
but he's like men.
I'm
not saying that they're untouchable. But I'm just saying that like
he's also a bit older, so I think it's he comes from a different generation. But I wonder. It is that tightrope, and especially like if you're gorgeous and successful and talented, and it's
Yeah, I just feel like honestly, I made a decision,
but I think that's healthy. Just put it down. It's like
I put it down. I put it down, of course, but I want to bury myself in the work. And if I will say this right now, like I know the intention behind any outspokenness that I've displayed, and it has been good, and it has been the scariest thing I've ever done, and it was not something I wanted to do, and I did it for a reason, and I feel like my life has been dictated by optics in my industry, and I feel like I've been raised by this industry. I've been working in it since I was 15, and it's been kind to me. Not kind, I mean, I've been through every form of rejection, but it felt like I just sort of made a decision, which was like, what's gonna, like, what do I've got baby sisters I don't talk about because I don't want them to be targeted on social media, and I will never I love them, I cherish them, and I know that it's not going to make as much of an impact as one would hope, but I can't live in the world that is our industry and observe the change that happened during Me Too. Not to imply that like there needs to be a shift on that level, but I've observed change happen.
Yeah.
And I made a decision, and I thought, you know what? As painful as it is, if this does throw me to the wolves, but I feel like I'm on the right side of history, I will do it. And that scared the I mean, still to this day, it really, when the paparazzi are following you and your dog is Giardia and you're going through like a lot of personal crisis, it was the word. And I never thought, I just didn't know what was going to happen with work. And I hated it. I hated every second of it. I felt violated. I felt awful, but I don't regret it because of the stories that women came to tell me about. And like, these women don't feel okay to talk about these things yet.
Yeah.
So
because you're not, I mean, I remember when it took me years to, talk about it. And you start with your best friends. I mean, that's what happened for me. And so, yeah, it's like, you want to share with someone who doesn't have any judgment and who can, be like, who's been there. And then they're like here, this is kind of cool because you're just similar to your parents who are, paving a way of like what could have happened for your grandfather was like, hey, come, try this instead,
Yeah.
And, you're doing sort of that same way. It's like you're being the change you wish to see in the world. And that's the only thing we can control. Like the only thing we can control is our actions and what we put out in the world and love. Correct. Like, are we operating from a place of fear? Like, I think there's only two vibrations in the world.
That's the first thing I've done in a long time.
There's fear, that's where the demons live.
Yes.
And love is where like everything, all the wonderful, like God and everything else is.
Yeah. Absolutely. I just
and so like that's amazing. Do you think that's your superpower? Speaking of superpowers,
I feel like
being a superhero.
I mean, Jesus Christ. I feel like bare minimum, honestly, like I just to pick something over acting is painful for me, and I'm not saying I'm doing that, but I don't know yet I don't know anything yet. All I know is like I have worked for 15 years so hard, and I've been through, I was 17, 18, 19 when Me Too was just about to happen, and I was working, and I have, like I'm not discerning with how I speak about things, and I think that the pseudo disapproval broke my heart a little bit, because I thought that like I had proven, but people, that's a selfish thought, because also people don't think about context is very hard to consider sometimes, especially that to do the math. Like I hadn't met anyone until I went through this experience, addressing stuff online, who also had been through something like me with the Me Too stuff, but also knowing that like sometimes it feels like people don't face consequences, and when you're doing the right thing and you face consequences, it's very hard to digest that. But I've learned that it helps me sleep at night, and that's enough. I have to do right by myself, and by like I just
keep your side of the street clean.
Yeah, exactly.
How do you feel seen and understood? So I feel like we've definitely delved in the ways, and like like you don't where you're protecting and being on this journey. But how do you feel seen? How do you feel understood?
I feel like my dad it's the people. I mean, I have amazing friends. I've got the most beautiful friends who.
Alona's amazing. We love her.
Amazing.
Alona's amazing. She's the best.
There's this quote that I love that a friend told me, which is that a friend sings your song when you forget it, and like it's those people in my life, because I mean my tombstone will say she was survived by her family and her friends in general, not just girlfriends, because just like
when you're a lot older, like over 100.
Yes, exactly. I'm gonna do more NADIBs, but yeah, no, it would be that, and then also like I just feel so grateful, because like just it's funny. I was thinking about this the other day. I have exercised avidly since I was 15, and I started to act when I was 15. And the reason I think that happened at the same time is because the amount of work that you input doesn't equate to the results that you might want. But exercise gives me that. Input equals output. And I need that. And I think that I've worked really, really, really hard in certain moments and not gotten that. And you learn to live with that, and you learn that working hard is for yourself. But I would say, like, even my boss and the boys, Kripke, has just been so supportive and so there for me.
He's great. He's amazing. Like, I worked with him on Supernatural. He's amazing.
Yes, he's amazing.
I just messaged him the other day.
I literally am emotional, so like, talking about him, just because, like,
he has your back.
He has my back, and those people keep you going,
And it's your family, right? It's your family on set. Yeah. Oh, I love that. That's amazing. They love you. You can tell they're all the photos. Like they absolutely, it's great.
I don't know why I'm crying now. God damn it.
It's great.
Why am I crying now?
That's great. But I mean, like, we need those people. I mean, my whole family's basically dead. So I've cultivated. So like the traveling circus, like those become our families. And
Jesus Christ. I didn't think Kripke would be the trigger word to make me cry. Jesus Christ.
So you know what I also think is interesting is that he could tell what was going on, and he wanted to write a story of the hero's journey of you conquering that. Is my intuition on that.
Okay. Woo. God damn it. Why this? I didn't Kripke's never made me cry. Okay. Woo. Oh. Jesus. Okay.
But Kripke's awesome. Like, he's so sweet. He's just such a ball of light.
Jesus.
interestingly enough, doing such dark shows where everyone's being blown up and
but we have levity. I mean, I walked on the deep being blown by an octopus. You know what I mean?
Like, or the bird, the chicken, it's just smithereens.
Yeah. Just oh God, that was rough. Yeah. Anyway, so I didn't know that was going to make me slow to tears. It's funny because you appreciate the positivity and the things to be grateful for all the more when you've like gone through some shit, and that's something I've noticed. And
you know what? Life is going to kill you. Here's the interesting thing that, I think is really fascinating is that everyone is going to go through trauma if you live long enough. You're going to lose all the people you love if you live long enough.
Yes.
God willing, like everyone, stays healthy, but that's just a part of life.
Or if
but
you can live long enough, right?
But but I mean, like you can choose to like go on this hero's journey, and everyone's on a hero's journey. Like no one knows. Here's the interesting thing is I think, people are going to find out like more about you and that everyone has had these really crazy journeys, no matter like the success that you have had. It's like nobody knows. They think, wow, like she's so, and you are so grateful is that all these amazing things that happen. But here's also the thing about when you get the fantasies, they are intrinsic. I'm having a stroke. It's finally happened, Tanner.
I cannot pronounce that word either.
Intrinsically
That's what
linked. So your fantasies are intrinsically. I can't do it.
I can't do that. I tried it before. Did you hear me? I couldn't do it either.
I'm gonna try it one more time. I swear to God.
I feel so. I feel better about myself now because every time I try intrinsically motivated, and when I say that,
linked with your nightmares. So here, the fantasy and the nightmares are very close together, and that's what's really interesting is that everyone's journey is going to be challenging, and you're gonna like no one's gonna know like all the things they only see what you put out there, like all this like
of course, because you want to be private. Like I need my privacy.
I don't want to share all this
happy
shit.
To share. I don't exactly. Like I am so for being open about mental health stuff. Like that is something that like destigmatizing that. Like I am all for it. Literally,
everyone has something. Like, everyone's going through something, and everyone has something.
Exactly. Like my grandmother says. Someone who is like seemingly it's like sane or put together or like just totally like just tightly, I don't want to say tightly wound, but like perfect is someone you don't know.
Not
well.
happening.
Is
Not
someone
happening.
You don't know well.
There's so
someone
much
you
stuff.
don't know well enough.
Or
they're a stranger.
If they
or their bodies in their closet.
Or if they haven't gone through it, they will. Like it's like
that's
the thing.
And that's where I operate from. That is where I operate from, and that is the
no one's getting
gift.
out of this alive.
No, and that is the gift that like you get from adversity. I don't want to glorify adversity because sometimes people do that, and I'm like, just let the person go through it. But now for myself, specifically speaking from my perspective, I look at it like, okay. It's so liberating to feel that way because then you don't personalize things, and then you also like it just it's actually it's just so much more of a peaceful way of living, like because not nothing, but people will say things and not to take it personally, and that is so important.
Yeah, it's like, never about you. That's the funniest thing ever.
It's never about you, except when you have to have a few sources you trust that will give you the right critical feedback that you trust, and you have to be open to those because I'll tell you what, I've been around people who are around yes people constantly.
Don't do it.
Don't do it.
Sycophants.
So you need that fine balance, but like the people who
truth and grace.
Yes, exactly.
Wait. I have one more story. We're probably gonna have to wrap this up at some point, but my time at Hoffman, this was really fascinating.
When did you go? 7 years ago?
Yeah, it was beginning of 2017, January. And so at the very last day, we had to experience transference, right? So it is this. So people have to come up to you and tell you how you triggered them. Right. So they have to, explain like what they felt about you, which is really like, it's not pleasant. So wait. So listen to this. Oh my God. Wait. So, oh God. So I'm there, and normally they said that you're supposed to have only like two or three people. I had a line of people just
that
like
were triggered by you.
And you know what I found was that most of it wasn't about me. So here it was like one of the first.
It's not.
But here, there were two that I was like, no, that's kind of me. So it was kind of like I interrupted somebody. So there was somebody who I interrupted. She's like, well, you interrupted me. I'm like, I can work on that. And then they're like, or you interrupted me and made it about you. I'm like, yeah, guilty. And then there was another one where I was late, which I've been working on. And
same. I have time blindness. It's so bad.
It's so bad.
I don't medicate my ADHD because I
have ADHD too.
Do you medicate it? I can't medicate.
No, I don't. I won't. It takes away. No, it's terrible.
It's neurotoxic.
I hate it. I can't. No.
Yeah. I'm working on my time blindness, but same.
Oh my God. So I was late and I interrupted somebody, made it about me, and I was like, yeah, that's on me. I can, so I took that on the chin, and I was like, I can work. I can work on that. And then everything else, there was a guy who was like, you remind me of my mother, and it's like, you remind me of this girl I dated, and then there was someone else who was like, you make me feel like I'm not good enough to be on my parents' Christmas card, and I realized that that's not even a real thing. Wow. And then there was another woman who couldn't even look at me. She's like, you're the daughter that they would want. I'm like, my mom barely wanted me. So I was like,
but that
I know she did. She loved me.
But to say those types of things.
It had nothing to do with me.
No, but also, did you say that to her?
And no. So these were the comments that I received. I mean, I made the joke of like, well,
it's so helpful to hear that everyone's got their shit. Everyone has their shit.
And so that was really fascinating to be like these triggers where you can be really polarizing. You have no idea why, because if you're being your authentic self, like people are going to love you, and they're also you're not going to be everyone's cup of tea, and that's okay.
Of course not.
I'm not going to.
By the way, I tried to be that, and I turned into like a mold according to whatever anyone wanted, and
a shapeshifter. Shapeshifter.
Literally.
This is blowing my mind.
No. Like literally. And by the way, like it's not like I was a shapeshifter when I was like a child, let alone you get into an industry where you're taught to say yes to everything. You become
being the
like,
actor. You're
enabled.
the ever pleaser.
Yes.
The pleaser.
Yes.
Okay, if you had a conversation with your younger self at any point, what advice would you give her and why?
Okay.
So this is probably also to people out there too.
Wow. Okay. This is so funny. This is where my over-therapized brain comes into play because like I'm an Al-Anon and like you don't give advice, you give suggestions. And so, but I'm saying that's like with levity because sometimes you can be over-therapized. Like it's hilarious that is the first thing I think of. And I have been in the past, but let me transcend that for a second. What advice? Oh girl. Okay. It would be just that feeling in you, that gut instinct in you, that thing that you feel when it is positive, negative. Your intuition is sharp. You can trust it. And I've not trusted it because you want to believe the best in people, right? But trusting, like to say that to myself, it would have to be something like that because I don't want to tell myself anything that would take away an experience that I might have, right? Like that would lead to a lesson. I just would like to tell myself at my age now that very like your intuition is very strong and trust it and listen to it and just trust that would be it.
That's the same advice I would give myself. That's so interesting. That's the same journey that I've been on is just trusting myself.
Yeah.
Is there something you're deeply passionate about outside of acting that people don't know about?
Gosh.
Other than your dogs?
Yes, I'm obsessed with. Wow, I'm kind of like known for this on set because I'll come to set just talking about these random things because I'm obsessed with podcasts and I get obsessive with certain areas of like niche interests and I'll know everything about that and nothing about another thing. But I am obsessed with neuroscience. I wanted to go back to neuroscience, like back to school. I wanted to go to neuroscience class. I really wanted to like go to Stanford and take continuing education class on it. I love like science. I love biology. I was very much like an academic kid growing up. So like I'm very like split between the creative side. Like I approach things in a cerebral way a lot of the time and then I feel them in my body. But like I love science. And I also just love that it's this thing that we can rely on that just is factual. Like I have this subscription to examine.com, which is like you pay once a month, not a lot, but like it gives you unbiased reports on like scientific studies that won't show up on Google, because I love to learn about the body. I love to learn about addiction psychology. It must be in my family. I love to learn about these things like that involve how the body works, how psychology works, how it's all connected. And I have really weird, like specific facts I could regurgitate. Like, I just, you could ask me, what, oh gosh, now it's not going to come to me. Like, for example, I like this biohacking has become a pop culture word, and I don't like it. I was like, listen, I don't not like it. It's just like everyone uses it, but I have been interested in optimizing the way my body functions, because it's like putting the right fuel.
It's a zeitgeist word, the biohacking.
It's like a little pop culture. Like I was like listening to like Napoleon Hill 10 years ago, and like doing all these like weird random biohacking things as they would be considered today, and obsessed with it. Not because I want to be like, it's not about living long. It's about optimizing the machine. It's like, you're not going to put the wrong kind of fuel in your car, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm obsessed with stuff like that, and I'm obsessed with statistics. For example, statistically speaking, this is gonna get political, but I'm about to do a freaking thing with Stacey Abrams, so that's not, the cat's out of the bag. Statistically speaking, women who, I feel like I'm gonna know a better one than this. Statistically speaking, no, let's just do it. Women who have children later in life, the children are more likely to get higher levels of education. But also, I know a lot that entail like science that just don't come to mind right now. But like, I love statistics because it's one of the few things that we can rely on as factual elements of our society when things are so up in the air. Like alternative facts being a thing that exists, like I don't even know what to say about that, because I love math and I love science, because you can't argue with it.
And
I love psychology. I love neuroscience, but like
some people
hormones behind it.
Some people,
true. Yeah, that's true.
By the way, is there who is someone in your life who has deeply influenced you, who you are today, and how have they done so?
I would say my dad. I would say that the way he looks at things is, he looks at things in the most nuanced way I've ever observed in my life, or heard in my life. He has this beautiful way of looking at life and death, because he was worked in hospice. He has detoxed patients who are going through drug withdrawals, and he has this ability to maintain a stoicism in those environments, because he himself has been through hell and back, and had a really hard upbringing, and like has been through a lot. And he just, when you've been through what he's been through, you can end up in a whole bunch of different ways. With him, he would have been dead, or he would be who he is today, or he could have been not as amazing as he is today, of course, but he doesn't see it, but his ability to like speak to anyone like us is like, he speaks poetically almost, first of all, and he's an autodidact. Like grew up in the Bronx, was not educated, came from like Irish cop family, but he is curious and just so intelligent, and he's taught himself everything. He's the reason why I got into acting, because he loved to show me movies with strong female characters to influence me to feel empowered. And then I would watch these things and I'd feel less alone, because they would be going through. And so that's why I became an actor. And he has had a hard life, and now he helps people become sober. He's worked in hospice, and he just, it's the nuance. It's the nuance and lack of judgment that he possesses. And just his ability to be there for me in a way that like we all need and we all want, which doesn't invalidate my feelings and goes to the dark place with me, but somehow yet still makes me feel like he's there, and the amount of love that outpours from his heart has like put a protective bubble around me.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So
yeah. I think it's really cool that your dad is the death whisperer. Because, I mean, it makes sense that he's the poet, that he's he's dealing with one of the most profound moments that we're all going to go through at some point in life. And so there's a gravity and an understanding where it's like you're so close to that cycle of life.
Yeah. I think that
So that makes sense.
Yeah. And he's been through so much. I think that there are people out there who, and this is going to sound morbid, but it's not actually meant to be. But if you've been through so much, like, you can form a relationship with death that doesn't feel as
scary.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel that way for myself, where I used to be terrified of it because I love life.
So
I love living so much.
And I want to experience things so badly. But then,
but then like I think there's just this like terror and fear, like that's so built in the epigenetics of it all, of
healthy.
Family. Yeah.
That's healthy. Like it's all healthy, like you want to, honestly, like, here's the thing. Whenever I go through a really dark spell, I always have that moment after it where I'm like, oh, fuck yeah, I'm glad I got through.
Yeah.
And this moment makes it all worth it.
Yeah.
Every time. Or these moments, or this expansive moment in time. Not that during the low moments I think it's not worth it, but there always is that moment waiting for me that makes it feel like I'm so glad that I'm here, and that like one thing led to another, and that I experienced what I just experienced, the magic dark, as this really wonderful
Magic Dark.
Yeah.
Wait, do you listen to that
Lacey
podcast?
Phillips?
Oh
Yes.
my God, I love her.
Yes,
the Magic Dark.
Yes.
Wait, explain to our audience what the Magic Dark is.
This is what I've spoken to everyone who I know who's ever going through a rock bottom, which can't relate at all. But like, this is what I've been talking to myself about, actually. So the Magic Dark is something that I really believe in because I've experienced it. And it is, again, it goes back to a lot of Hoffman principles, but how we're in control of the wheel, which is scary but liberating at the same time. The Magic Dark is like when you go to these rock bottoms, it's a magic dark because it always, what am I trying to say? It comes before the period of enlightenment. Right?
Yep.
So like you have to look at these dark moments as these, and not to glorify it because these growing pains are sharp, but the Magic Dark is there, and every time it has proven itself to precede moments of enlightenment and happiness that I've experienced that has never been experienced before. So in other words, the last time I went through the Magic Dark, I had the happiest period of my life after that for 5 years that entailed things that I never thought I would have.
Yeah.
So if you believe that, I don't think that it needs to be this cosmic thing that you need to believe in. It's just believe in it, and it will happen because you will believe in it to a degree that allows you to step up to like opportunities that then open you up to like improving your life. You know what I mean? You just have to have that like minimal amount of belief and take baby steps. Like for me, it was like, what happens when I'm in a low point? If I show up to something, if I show up to an Al-Anon meeting, if I show up to this Hoffman 2-day essentials program, if I just show up for myself, even if it doesn't like work out that well for me, which it did, I proved to myself that I'm like worth making the effort.
Yeah.
For something like that. And I think that like they've proven that in studies. There's this book called The Happiness Project by Gretchen Rubin. And they prove that like if you go out and you get a massage and you book the massage and you're not feeling it, you don't feel like you deserve it, do it, because it will prove to yourself that you're worthy and you can fake it till you make it, and it improves happiness. And that has been proven in studies.
Do you want? There's this thing that I've been practicing where I want to manifest a certain amount of money, just a lot of abundance. I want to be able to produce and film a bunch of films, and I want to just be able to do it myself. And I was traveling in Europe and sort of having like, how Stella got a groove back kind of feeling.
Hell yes. Yes, your
because
mojo.
I was like, my mom had died, like all these deaths happened, and I felt like I came back from war. Like I felt like I feel like
I need to go to Europe tonight. I'm gonna go tonight.
So I felt like I had gone through war, and I felt like a raw nerve. Like the physical manifestation of shock from losing my mom was still manifesting in my fingers.
Yes.
And so now it went away, but
body keeps that score.
Body keeps the score.
God damn it.
Oh my God. So one of my friends was getting married in Barcelona, and so I wanted to go, and I also wanted to go to Amsterdam and Greece. One of my best friends is from Greece. Her family's from Greece. last time 2 years ago I went to Israel, so I always want to like learn where all my best friends like are, to understand them better, which is so interesting.
Yes.
So I went to Greece. I went to Greece, and there was a helicopter ride, and it was a lot of money. And I said to myself, well, what would future me do, who has all this money and has all this abundance and who's a boss? And I was like, she'd take that helicopter ride. And so so I literally was like, that moment, I was like, it's so much money.
Yes.
And it's also like, it's a private tour. And I was like, well, you have to, the whole idea of faking it till you making it, but it's like, you're literally, I heard this concept, which is you have to take the future you and what you're doing and try to see like who you are in that. Like
very similar to Hoffman,
and
like
then
all
you're
ties
merging,
in.
So you're merging these like two people together. So current you with future you, and what would future you do? And so I was like merging and feeling as if I already had it and as if I was just already being it. So I took this helicopter ride and I was scared. I was like, God, am I going to die? God's like, no, trust me. You got to trust. You got to understand what it starts to feel like of being in your abundance, being in, you know, and so
that's what I've been doing.
Was so life changing. Yes. So it's like me doing this podcast and being I literally was like, what would future me do? Merge. Yes.
So that's my daily practice at the moment, post Hoffman. It's literally like, when I want to go into this pattern, what am I going to do to break out of it? And the other day I was like, I'm a scarcity complex person. Money, everything. Like, you know, you don't need to be actively anorexic to have anorexic tendencies in other areas. I can deprive myself of things. I need to work for them, right? I need to work for them.
It always shows up. You change it, but it still shows up in another form. You get rid of this, like shopping.
Well, perfectionists, a lot of people who like go to Ivy Leagues and like are perfectionists do have eating disorders. It's about control, right?
Yeah.
So that can be that I can like safely say, at least for now, is in the box. But then I've had these moments where I'm like, okay, no, you don't deserve this right now. You don't. Like, don't go do this. Who do you think you are? And I'm like, no, I'm going to go get the fucking massage.
Yeah.
I can, like, you have to, now within reason. Like, I don't want to say to anyone, like, I understand that there are people
overindulging.
Who, by the way,
done.
Yeah, of course. But
buying
by the
too
way,
much, shopping.
By the way, do you know how
Tanner's seen my clothes?
How horribly like restrictive I was that now my parents or like my family, my mom, my grandma particularly, when I go out and shop, they're like, "Good for you, girl." That's how restrictive I was. They're like, it makes them happy because I literally would not allow myself to do anything. So just like little things like that. But then I get into that mindset if I'm like, if I need to like be doing something productive. And so every day is like, no. Like I have a lot of time to make up for and just, you know, taking myself on like a little, it's uncomfortable. It's very uncomfortable and it scares me. But every time
to be in your feminine and receive.
To not have to work to be like loved and to treat myself with love, like to not have to work for it, to not have to work for, you know, like it's been a long hiatus and like I know that I'm going to work and there's no reason why I can't give so for example, I had to move very abruptly because a horrible leak happened in my place.
Did you have mold?
I didn't know anything about it, by the way, coming from my dishwasher below. Ceiling collapsed below me after I found out about it. The whole situation was not right. I will just put it that way, and I can't say anything more. However, I had gotten into a really bad car accident right before that, lost my car. Like, not my fault, just a car rammed itself right into me, T-boned me. And then I literally was like, I can't. And I was like, what am I going to do? I can't live in this place. I just lost my car. I'm such a homebody. I need my home. I already felt violated because of the lack of privacy at the start of the year. So I just was like, no, we're going to Silver Lake. We're going to have a backyard and we can do it and we can find a place. And I have, and it changed my frequency in the same way that you went on that trip. Like wherever you go, there you are. But I feel like that in itself is too simplistic. Wherever you go, there you are. But maybe there you are in your true form because your monotony like is not there speaking to you and keeping you in your cyclical bullshit.
Yeah.
So I actually
you have to shake yourself
you
out
do.
of it.
You do. So I'm now like I have a backyard. I have like this like connection to nature. For a New Yorker, that's nature.
I know.
And
See,
like,
I have a backyard too because I need the connection to the nature and touching the trees.
And I'm like, Erin, just do it. Do what you need to do because when I haven't done what I've needed to do, which has been most of the last year until Hoffman, I have suffered and I'm just it's nice to like
treat yourself.
It's nice to like feel like, oh wow, you're allowed these things.
it's okay. We can love ourselves.
I know.
We can be good to ourselves. And it's weird to change those patterns that you don't have to receive love in that way anymore.
No,
it's like an old thing.
Intrinsically found, that word is going to kill me.
Intrinsically.
But that's the thing. It's like, I'm not looking for it in work anymore. I thought that was going to fill a void. I thought, like, as soon as you find it within yourself, it's a cliche, but it's a cliche for a reason.
Yeah.
Might sound saccharine, but that's it. That's it. Then you're not impenetrable, but it's about your psychological immune system, right? And I felt like mine got low and infections got in, and I would not have forgiven myself for that, because I grew up with a family that like knows all of the modalities. When you've been in therapy and you don't get shit right, you're like, well, what the fuck? Like why can't I get this right? It's self-forgiveness. That's it.
Yeah. I think this is a great place to
God.
end.
Wow.
But this was amazing. Guys, this was one hell of a juggernaut of a podcast.
Wasn't it, though?
I mean, I feel just like I said, I think we're all just trying to get through life and trying to do the best we can. And I feel like your story and everything is going to help people, because I know there's a lot of people who have gone through those things.
Oh yeah, and I hope it.
And they're not alone. Like basically, it's like you're not alone. Like
you're not alone. And also, like, just understand, you guys, like, it's all bullshit. No one's above you. No one's below you.
Yeah.
Like
we're all parts of God.
Yes, yes. And whatever your fucking higher power is, you are worthy of love as much as anyone.
Yeah.
And like, and just, I don't know. I hope this makes you feel less alone. And I hope that if it doesn't, then that means that you're in a good place, and that makes me happy for you. So I don't know. I just really, really want to, similar to you, I think you said this earlier, spread just beneficial,
love.
Like, it's just contagious. I really, really do. That's my intention, and to just like
love or fear.
Yes, and
are we on the vibration of love, or is it fear?
Exactly.
And constantly being in the like sometimes love is very just uncomfortable. Intimacy is scary.
Oh yes, of course.
Because you have to be fully
vulnerable.
just vulnerable, and it's always so
because
scary. And I do think I have found in my life that when I'm brave enough to be vulnerable, then everyone jumps in and they're all like, "Oh, it's okay. I feel safe." Like,
exactly.
I can be vulnerable too, and I can be fully myself and fully just embody who I am. And life is trying to eat you, and animals are, you're out in the jungle, like everything's eating itself, and we're all part of nature.
We are.
But we're all part of God.
We are, and just like, we're all just humans trying to get by. And I will say that a lot of the modalities that we've spoken about can be cost prohibitive for some people. I implore people to look into like programs that a lot of these places use to just help you.
I took out a loan. I spent and I was lucky enough to have a loan, but I spent so much money on all this.
There are free things like I've gone to like support groups when I've had a family member that was sick. Like
AA is free.
AA is free. Like Al-Anon is free, and I don't know if people know what that is, but it's for people like who descend from alcoholics, or but my parents are sober, and so and I've had a couple of relationships that have been. Al-Anon can apply to everyone though. It's very similar to Hoffman, but like a lot of free programs, a lot of programs with financial assistance. That's what I would like to just say to people, because there are so many people who leave these things thinking, well, how am I going to afford this? Ketamine therapy, still very expensive. That's something that I think like should be looked into.
This has been a joy.
I know,
you are so beautiful. This has been we've had such an amazing
Louise, okay.
Of like
I feel
bonding.
enlightened.
We've soul bonded today.
I feel lighter.
You do.
Yes. Thank you for having me. This was like, I applaud you for just doing this. I love podcasts, and these are the kinds of podcasts that I have listened to on a drive, because I'm addicted to podcasts incessantly, and I leave them feeling like, oh, cool, I'm not alone. I'm informed about certain things that I didn't know about, and I just love to they're important. They're medicinal.
I feel the same way.
Yeah.
You're my soul sister in life.
Yes.
We've experienced so much.
Guys,
thank you so much for watching. This has been an absolute joy, and Erin, you're the best.
So are you. Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks, guys. All right. Bye.
Oh, I realized time is here. Bye.
Bye, guys.
A whole nother level.
Hi, guys. Thanks so much for watching our juggernaut of an episode. If you liked it, please comment, like, or subscribe, and stay tuned for more of our latest episode. Thanks so much for watching.
A whole nother level.